Hi, this is Julie with Beadaholique, and in this video I'm going to teach you how to make from start to finish the Deluxe Spiral Beaded Kumihimo Bracelet Kit. This is an exclusive kit by Beadaholique, and you can find it at beadaholique.com. So here you see we've got this spiral pattern going with check fire polish beads and seed beads. This one is a green and gold color palette, and it features a magnetic clasp. All of these feature that wonderful barrel magnetic clasp. There's also a silver and black, a turquoise and silver, a gold and white, a rose gold and purple, and then here I'm going to make a really vibrant pink and black combination one, which will be a lot of fun. Now when you purchase this kit, you're going to get everything you need to make this bracelet. So you're going to get the disc. You're going to get 8 bobbins. So these are what flexible plastic bobbins look like. You get 8 of them because we're doing a classic 8 warp Kumihimo braid. You're going to get some E6000 glue to attach your clasp, an entire spool of S-long cord, the clasp itself. You see it's got that barrel inside. So we have these seed beads right here. They're a size 8/0, and then we have these lovely check glass beads. And then you're also going to get this little needle, and it's hard to see, but it's going to help you put on your beads if you choose to use it. You don't have to. You can actually string your beads without it, but we want to include that to make life a little easier if you wanted. A couple supplies you're also going to need that aren't included but should be pretty readily available. Some toothpicks, a pair of scissors, little post-it pads. This is optional. This is a Kumihimo weight. It is made for Kumihimo. If you don't have one of these, but you want to have a weight at the end, you can just take a binder clip and a little bag of pennies and make one yourself. And then you'll want a ruler as well. So if you have already bought one of our Kumihimo kits in the past, you already have the disc and the bobbins and the glue, but you want to make this design, you can also just buy a refill kit, which will be everything you see here, to make the bracelet. So that's another nice little option. So before we start talking about loading our bobbins with our cord and stringing our beads on, I want to talk to you for one moment about sizing, because when you get a little bit of a thicker bracelet, sizing can be a little bit more challenging. So you might have noticed these are different sizes, and I just chose to make them different sizes so that you could see, one, that you can adjust the size of your bracelet with the given ingredients in the kit. But I also wanted to talk to you about how many beads to string on to your cord and bobbin to make different size bracelets. So the best example is probably these two here, because they are the smallest one I have and the largest one I have. So if we take a ruler and we look at this green one and we lay it flat, there is 6 1/4, approximately, a little bit more than that, of braid. And then the clasp adds an inch. So it's 7 1/4 inch long. Okay, so that's what it is when laying flat. When we grab a bracelet mandrel, and you see I've got my little marks on it, that 7 1/4 is not even 6.5 inches on the sizing mandrel. It's more like 6 1/4. Which for my wrist, I have a smaller sized wrist. I love magnetic clasps. Okay, so it fits fine. It's very comfortable, but I know that everybody's wrist is different. So let's go ahead and look at this other one. So we lay this one out, and this is about 7 1/2 inches of braid. That clasp is going to make it 8 1/2 inches. When we put it onto the bracelet mandrel, we're just around 7 1/2 inches. So basically, a good rule of thumb and an easy way to remember this is however long your braid is going to be the size of your bracelet. The added amount for the clasp, that 1 inch, is eaten up with pretty much the thickness of this braid when you put it on a sizing mandrel. So just keep that in mind. To make this green one, I put 30 beads on each strand, and we're going to do that here in just a minute. And then for this black one, I put 37 beads. It roughly equals 3 beads per strand equals 1/2 inch. And when you buy one of our kits, you're also going to get written instructions, and that will all be in the written instructions as well to help you with sizing. But this was 30 beads on each strand to make a smaller one. This medium one here was 33 beads, and this here was 37 beads. So that's just kind of a good way to think about it. And like I said, you'll get full instructions as well with this kit. So I think for the one I'm going to make in this video, I'll put 33 beads on each strand. And so we're going to start by cutting our cord. And I want 35 inches of cord per strand. So let me show you how to use this bobbin. So it is flexible plastic. And you basically just press down towards the inside of it. It pops open and then you snap it shut. And what you're going to do is you're going to take your cut piece of cord, and if you want, you can put a little piece of tape right here to tape the cord. But I find with this particular project, I don't need that. My beads are not that heavy and I have enough cord. So I just wound it around and then I'm going to snap it shut. And then you're going to take this and you're going to put 33 beads. Well, you'll pick the number of beads you want based upon the size you're going to make. But for me on this project, I'm going to do 33 beads onto each strand. Now, if it's just the seed beads, it is super easy to just pick them up like this. You don't need a needle. If you want the needle on, you can, but it's really easy. The check fire polish can be a little bit more challenging to put through. I mean, this goes pretty smoothly. If you want, we are providing a needle. And this is a flexible wire needle, and it has a little eye. And you can just put your cord through it, like so. And then you've now got a needle to pick up your beads. So you can just do that and pull it down, and it'll end up on your cord. And so you're going to do 33 of them. And so I'm not going to string these all here on this video. The video will become way too long. But what you want to do is you want all 8 of your bobbins completely filled with the cord and the beads. And you're going to want 35 inches of cord per bobbin. On 4 of them, you want 33 black beads on each. And on 4 of them, you want 33 of these pink beads. So 33 seed beads. And then on the other 4, the 33 of the check fire polish. And once you have that, we're going to actually start our braiding. So I'm just going to keep stringing these, and then once they're all ready, we'll reconvene and I'll show you how to make the braid. So we've got all 8 of our bobbins loaded with beads. So the key to braiding beaded kumihimo is you preload all your beads. And so we've got the 4 strands and bobbins with the check fire polish beads, 33 each, and then we've got the 4 with the seed beads, again 33 each. So here is what it looked like when I just loaded it. Now I'm going to pop it back open, and I want to tuck most of these beads inside the bobbin just so that there's a few hanging out on the outside. And I do that so that my bobbins don't end up too long and get tangled when I put them on the board, on the disc. So I'm going to do that for all of these. I'm just popping it open, sliding most of them in, and leaving a few out. And you can see how I can just pull my cord, which is really nice and convenient. So it's nice that you do have a lot of options when working with these bobbins. Nothing is permanent. So if you ever did change your mind and want to add more beads later, you can definitely do that. So that's nice too. But we're just getting these all set. Okay. And you'll be able to reuse these bobbins time and again for future projects. And you're going to have a lot of cord left over from this kit as well that you'll be able to use for future projects. Okay. After you've done that, you're going to gather the tails of all of these and you're going to line them up. It does not have to be exact. So you see some are a little longer than the others. Don't worry about that. When I recommended that you cut 35 inches of the cord to start with, that is going to allow for a lot of extra and is also going to allow you to make the longest bracelet that you see here, or even longer if you want to make one longer than one of these examples. The 35 inches is plenty. So we're just going to tie a simple overhand knot right near the ends and pull. So now they're all connected, and we're going to take our disc now. We're ready to position our cords on our disc. So you always want to start with the 32 up at top with that first placement dot, and the 16 is going to be down at the bottom. You're going to feed your knot through the center so it comes out the other side. And at this point, if you want to, you can attach a weight to it as well, or you can wait to attach that weight until you've positioned your cords. That's a preference thing. So in order to obtain a spiral design like you see here, you're going to want a check fire polish on either side of the 32 dot and on either side of the 16. So two strands. So that's your 4 strands. And then over here, you're going to want your seed bead strands on either side of the 8 and the 24. You could also reverse that and do the seed beads on the 32 and the 16 and the check fire polish on the 24 and the 8. The important thing is that the coordinating strands are opposite each other. So let's go ahead and we see that we've got the seed bead one right here and on either side of the 8. Here's a check fire polish one. Don't worry if you've got some tangling happening, it's not a big deal. It's going to work itself out. So I'm going to position this on either side of, I'm going to put that one on the 32. Where's another one? Here's another fire polish on the other side of the 32. Let's stretch across. So we've got the seed bead over near the 24. Here's another fire polish, and that leaves us one more seed bead. So now pull your knot so it's in the center, and then pull your strands. There we go. And then if you lift this up, double check. So seed beads together, fire polish together, seed beads together. And at this time, you definitely do want to put your weight on if you're using one. So this is our starting point. So I'm going to stand, you might hear a little rustling here because I want these guys off the table as I do this. We are going to start by braiding about 1/2 inch without beads. And the way you do a classic 8 warp Kumihimo braid is you're going to lift the strand, the cord, out of the notch that's to the left of the 16, between the 16 and the 17. And you're going to pull it up to the notch that's to the left of the 31. And now you've got 3 strands up top, 1 at the bottom. So now you need to get a second one down to the bottom. So you're going to pull the far right strand, which is between the 32 and the 1, and pull it down so it's to the right of the 15. And then you're going to rotate your disc. And we're rotating counterclockwise. And now we're going to go ahead and pull the left strand, the left of the 24, out, cross the board up to the top, and put it to the left of the 7. And now we've got 3 and 1, so we need to make sure that we have 2 and 2 by the time we're done with this rotation. So we're going to go ahead and pull the strand out to the right of the 8 and pull it down to the right of the 23 and rotate. And a really easy way to remember this is just bottom left to top left, top right to bottom right, and rotate. You're going to just repeat that over and over again, and that is the basic Kumihimo braiding step. That's all there is. So bottom left to top left, top right to bottom right, rotate. And you'll start to end up being able to go really fast. And now if you find that your bobbins are a little bit too long and getting tangled, all you need to do is go bottom left to top left. And since you've got the 3 strands at top here, you know where you've left off on your braid. So then you can go ahead and you can either put this down if you want, and you can wind in a little of the cord. You'll do the same thing when you need more beads. You'll just put your disc down for a minute, pop out more beads, wind your bobbin, and then when you pick it up again, it wouldn't matter how you picked it up. You would know, okay, I left off with 3 strands up top. So now to continue my braiding, I just take that top right down to the bottom right and rotate. And then you just continue. And this is a very Zen-like activity. I've heard a lot of people compare it to like knitting or crocheting. It's something that you can just really enjoy doing as maybe you're talking with friends or watching a little TV. It's just a very soothing activity because it's this repetitive action and it just becomes second nature. It's just always bottom left, top right. I'm sorry, bottom left, top right, bottom right, rotate. It's same step over and over. And you're gonna see here in a minute when I show you how to add beads that this basic step and technique never changes. There's just an added little small step of adding the bead. So let me show you what we've got here. And before I stop to show you, I'm gonna make sure that I end in a place that I'll know where I left off. So again, that bottom left to top left, I've got the 3 up top, the 1 at the bottom. And this is what we've got so far. So you see that nice little braid coming about. I'm just gonna do a little bit more before I start adding beads. And the reasoning for that is we wanna make sure we have a non-beaded portion that's gonna fit into the inside of our clasp. So let me just do a little bit more. And there's so many different things you can do with this technique. And actually with the beads provided in this kit, if you wanted to, you can even do a segment that was just seed beads before you even got into the spiral design. And the way you would do that is by loading a set number of seed beads on all 8 strands, braiding all of them, and then just loading your bobbins like I showed you here with 4 strands with the check fire polish and 4 strands with the seed beads. And then at the end, you would just have the same set number of seed beads that you would add to the end. So that would be a way to make your bracelet even longer. If that's a little confusing, it would just look like your normal bracelet here, but you'd have a segment that was just the seed beads, which could be really pretty too. You'd almost be creating like a focal of the spiral. And I'll go into more detail about that as well in the written instructions that come with the kit. Okay, so let's see how much we have. Okay, that's perfect. That's all you're gonna need for the non-beaded portion. So to add your beads, you're going to take a bead and slide it all the way up. Take it out of that notch. And as you're putting it over to the top, you're just gonna let that little bead drop. And you're gonna catch it under the thread that's going across. So you see how that's just catching? And now you're just gonna continue to place your thread where you would have normally without a bead. And you're gonna do the same thing for the next one. Just let that little bead pop down into the well, catch it under that other warp thread. These are warps. This is an 8 warp braid. And then rotate and do the same with the next one. So just slide a little bead up. Let it fall into the well and catch it under that warp bridge on your way to putting it up top. But if you notice, my technique has not changed at all, nor has the positioning of my cords. Again, let it slide down and then rotate. And I'm going to do a little bit here on camera so that you can start to see the actual spiral pattern take place. So. It's that delightful little clanging sound too of those bobbins. And you might notice me occasionally tugging at my cords. So here we go. If you notice, let me see when I might need to do it. Okay, so I'm dropping that bead down in. So I might just tug like this ever so slightly, and I'm just tugging right under here. And that's just keeping my knot, or not my knot, well, it is my knot, but my braid in the center of that disc. Okay, let's see after the next one if we have enough to see our spiral pattern. Okay, let's see. Yep, you're starting to be able to see it take shape. And that's what you're going to continue doing until you've used up all the beads on your bobbins. And then you're going to do another small little amount that is without the beads. And that's going to allow you to put the other side of your clasp on. So I'm going to just keep on braiding, adding beads in this exact same way and the same technique until I have a nice long braid. I've done my actual beaded braid right here. So this is what it looks like. There's that black and pink spiral and it's super soft and flexible, which is really nice. Now I want to show you the transition back from beaded to non-beaded. And it's the same process, except for now you don't have beads on your bobbins anymore. And you would just go ahead and continue your braiding just the same as normal. Now let me put one more strand up top to hold my place because I do want to give you one more tip. So once you've done this much, go ahead and if you're making this for yourself, put it on your wrist. If you think you need to make it bigger, you can still do so. So what you would do is before you start the non-beaded portion, you would simply add more beads to your strands just by opening up your bobbins, stringing on your beads and closing them again. And then you can continue to make this longer and beaded. So you just want to kind of do that, a quick little sizing before you go to the non-beaded portion. And do remember the size of your clasp is almost an inch. So account for that as well. But if you're happy with your length, you just will continue to do a non-beaded braid portion. That will be that about 1/2 inch again, which is going to allow you to attach it to the clasp. And you see how this is really nice. It's just really weaving those strands together. So I'm just going to do this myself so then I can remove it from the disc. And if you find that your bobbins get tangled or start to fall off, at this point don't worry about it. They're no longer holding beads. I sometimes just pull my strands out of the bobbins and let the strands hang down from the notches. Okay, let's see what we've got. Let me just end at a stopping point where I'll know where I left off. Okay. All right, that will actually do. That's long enough. So let's go ahead and take this out off of our disc. So what I like to do is I like to pull my bobbins off first. I'm just literally pulling them off. Okay, I'm going to hold my braid and pull the strands off and out of their notches. And I'm done with my disc. And then I take this and I do another knot. Okay. And I try to have that knot positioned fairly close to where the braiding ends. So a quick note about your length. Let's look at this. You'll probably notice that we started with the 35 inches and there appears to be a lot of waste of extra cord. So I do this for 2 reasons. One is for the instructions for this particular kit. I wanted to make sure you had enough cord to make a longer bracelet. So I didn't want to have to tell people, you know, if you're doing a 6-inch bracelet, cut this much cord. If you're doing a 7, an 8, cut X number. It's better to have one length. Also, what I find is with these bobbins, you need to have a good amount of cord in here to anchor it so it doesn't slip out on you. If you only have, say, like this much, like 1 inch, you're going to notice it start to make a wider loop and it just pulls out really easily. Now you can counter that by taping it in there. So if you want to use a little less cord, you would just definitely need to make sure that you tape your end in here. I did this particular braid without having to tape it because I knew I had extra cord. But you will just be either discarding this or saving it for another project if you want to keep your strands, if you use short strands for something else. So that's just a quick note about that length. So let's now go ahead and start to finish up our bracelet and attach our clasp. So you're going to need a couple things here. You're going to need, of course, your braid. You're going to need your clasp. Separate it out. And the reason I tell you to do this is there is a very strong magnet set into this barrel. And you got that hollow inset. And it is sealed, but once in a great while, I have seen it where a little bit of glue, because we're going to be putting glue on the inside, has seeped out this end. Doesn't happen very often, but if you were to have this closed, it could potentially be glued shut. So let's separate that out and make sure it stays separated until your bracelet is completely dry. And I would say that's going to be about 24 hours for this glue to fully cure and dry. So you'll notice that the diameter of our barrel is wider than the diameter of our non-beaded braid. So we need to bulk that up. It's really simple to do. Go ahead and take one of your leftover strands, if you have one that's long enough. It needs to be at least 12 inches. This is, of course, more than that. So now we're going to put it under our end here. And we're going to loop it, and we are going to tie a knot. And we want to tie it not right up against the beads, but between 1/8 and 1/4 of an inch down. And pull that snug. And then tie another knot. I'm going to do a double knot. Okay, so what we've done is we've helped to secure that braid with a knot going around it, but we're also now starting to add to the actual width of the braid. And that's what we're going to do, is we're going to bulk this up by tying a series of knots. Now, I know sometimes what you can do is you can actually tie a couple knots and then wind this around to add some extra width. That's definitely one way of doing it. I actually like to just tie a bunch of knots. I might do a little bit of winding, but for the most part, I'm just doing knots. And I'm trying to vary which side the knot sits on. And this is what's going to create a better anchor and a better fit for the clasp, because the clasp is very much in scale with the beaded portion of your braid, but like I said, it is bigger and wider than the non-beaded. And I'm actually going to just show you how to do this to one end, simply because it is the same exact technique you're going to do for both ends. And you can see what's happening if you compare the two sides. You also want to make sure that you don't end up creeping down here, because you want to stay within the length of this half of the clasp as well. Okay, I'm just going to do a couple more, and then we're going to be ready to cut it and glue it. Okay, trim the tails, and at this point you can also trim this braid. Don't trim it too close to your knots, because you don't want to accidentally cut them. Ha! That sticks to my scissors. How fun. And then make sure that it's not longer than your clasp. Cut right through your braid. And now we're going to add some glue. This is E6000. It's a really strong glue. We use it a lot for a lot of different projects. It comes sealed. There's a little point on the cap, and you simply push that point into the top of the glue to break the seal. And we're going to put some out on our little notepad here. And we're going to take a toothpick, and we're going to apply the glue to the inside of the clasp itself. And we're going to get it around the edges, as well as down towards the base. And be fairly generous with this glue. You want to make sure that it's going to grip to your braid, to the ends of your braid, to the knot that you did. You want to make sure that you've got enough glue in there to really create a secure bond. Okay, so looks very messy, right? We are just gonna hide all that mess inside by just shoving it in there until it is right up against your beads. And we're just gonna let that dry. So that is 1/2 of our clasp. I do wanna show this bracelet complete, but I figure if you need a refresher on how to do that knotting technique, please just rewind this video. I'm gonna do this other side off camera to save a little bit of time here. And then I'll come back and I will show you your finished bracelet. Our bracelet is done, yay, and I'm not gonna go ahead and close it because I do wanna let it dry, but I wanted to show you it finished. So there's the pink and black one, and then just again, we have the black and silver, the green and gold, the white and gold, the blue, the turquoise and silver, and this really pretty purple and rose gold. So all of these you would create with the exact same techniques that you saw in this video. And these, again, are exclusive kits by Beadaholique, available at beadaholique.com. And these are titled the Deluxe Spiral Beaded Kumihimo Bracelet Kit. So you'll find them on the website, as well as a lot of other Kumihimo kits and other exclusive kits as well. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed it.